Hey, Fred Reed here from CNYAlive.com. Thanks for joining us. I want to remind everybody, if you're a theater group, if you're a band, a performer, an acoustic group, or whatever, we take all your stuff and we post it on our calendar. Just go to CNYAlive.com/join. Send it to us, we'll post it. Right now, coming up, we have a great sit-down I had with Mike Powell. Mike Powell talks about his new CD, The Full Nelson, which is an interesting name for it. I won't go into it anymore. I really want you guys to sit down and listen to what Mike has to say. He's a great person, great songwriter, and I was really glad to sit down and talk with him. Take it away. Mike, thanks for spending some time with us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Man, thank you.
I want to start out a little bit and talk about, whatever got you to pick up the guitar. Because I know that your first aspiration in life probably was another angle, which was in sports and lacrosse and everything. But what got you to pick up the guitar?
To be honest with you, I think I picked up the guitar because my dad did it, so that kind of made it cool. My dad was a guitar player, so that kind of made me want to feel attached to what my dad did. I think every boy kind of has that born into him. And no one else, I came from a big family, so I had a lot of brothers and sisters. And they were all into sports. And this was kind of a way for me to be like, all right, I could put my stamp on a little something different. And that's been a personality trait of mine. I've always tried to find a different way to do things. And within my family structure, that was a different way to kind of, I guess, when you're 8 or 9 years old, to get attention from your parents. And I quickly became like the musician of the family, just because I was the only one that was doing it. Didn't mean I was good or anything, but that's why I started doing it, I think.
Okay. So, I read something that was that your family was kind of a party family and everything, and that
Still is.
you had kind of a feeling though about when you pull out the guitars and stuff, that the atmosphere changed. Can you talk a little bit about that? How did it change, and what made life better for you?
Yeah, totally. And when I said that my dad was a guitar player, I got to clear it up for everyone. He knew 3 chords on the guitar. So, he could get away with playing old Hank Williams songs and Willie Nelson songs. And that's how I was raised. And I was always attracted to the instrument itself. But a lot of times my uncle, Charlie, and him, they were drinking buddies. So pretty much, a couple nights a week, they'd get together and have a pack of Jenny Lights back in there. So our kitchen would be full of blue cans, and I'd lay underneath the kitchen table, and I'd just listen to them as they told stories to each other and got drunk and started playing guitar, and they started playing those songs. And I thought I was kind of enamored by, as soon as that music started happening, it changed the dynamics in the room. And whether my mom was in there doing dishes or whatever, she'd be doing dishes and she'd have a little pep in her step, when the music hit. And I kind of early on realized the effect that music can have on mood. And I'm still chasing it, still chasing that feeling.
So would you say that your dad and your uncle were the thing that gave you the aspiration to really go on, or did you also have some musical national or whatever that kind of said, I want to play that guy's song or that person's song or something?
Well,
inspiration-wise,
Yeah, totally. For me, that's what got me started, was my dad and my Uncle Charlie and them playing guitar. And then my best friends in high school, their father's name was George Simser, was a performer in Watertown, which was a neighboring town of ours. And he's the one that kind of really showed me how to play. So he knew more than 3. I think he knows 5 chords. So he took me to the next level. And from the funny part is, to be honest with you, from a very young age, I never learned anyone else's music. So I never took the time to sit down and learn someone else's, because it just, for me, and it still feels that way, it feels like it loses authenticity. And I was never good enough of a musician to pull off some of these things that other people were doing. So for me, the sexy part of the whole process was coming up with everything myself. And I'm not saying that that's not heavily influenced or inspired by other musicians and other music, but I could never do the verbatim thing. So early on I was inspired by Willie and Hank because my dad played them. But then when I graduated to level 2 with George Simser, he turned me on to John Prine. And John Prine has become my favorite songwriter. So if you listen to my first 50 songs when I was 16, 17 years old, they're John Prine ripoffs, basically. Like I said, they're very influenced by other musicians, but I never necessarily took the time to learn his songs. It's just my own adaptation of it, I guess.
You kind of heard the song, kind of infused it in what you were doing instead of repeating it. You came up with your own version of
Correct.
how you felt about it.
Correct.
Would you say? I mean, obviously, you said you had some people that taught you 3 chords and 5 chords, but mostly self-taught then.
Yeah,
and professional.
No, and that's still to this day a funny thing between bandmates and myself is I'm not a musician. I wasn't trained or anything. I never learned notes or theory or any stuff like that. So when I'm in a band atmosphere, it's very strange because I don't know what I'm playing. So they will ask me what key the song is in or something like that, and I just have to show them my fretboard where my fingers are, and then I say this one.
There you go.
It's in this one. And I've just never taken the time to learn it. I wish I had, because I'm sure I would avoid a few different mistakes that I've made in the past. But at the same time, there's something raw about not knowing what I'm doing. That kind of very skilled musicians that know theory really well may overlook stuff that's very basic.
Sure.
Where I think it's like a new thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of like all my songs are fairly simple, it's all about the words. So musically, they kind of just lay this simple, basic foundation. And like I said, that may be something that's cool about that. So I kind of just embrace who I am and what I can do, and that's how I try and present my show when I'm on stage too.
So that's kind of what my next question was. Is that without the education or the formal education of playing and everything, you feel, obviously you just stated, you kind of feel that they gave you an edge to give your storytelling, because I believe your songs are more of a storytelling nature about life in general, that you probably gave it a little more edge and emphasis and reality to it than trying to play by a formal rule.
Yeah, I think so, and I do. I never it's all muscle memory for me.
Yeah.
So it's like I get picked on a lot because people will come to shows and ask for songs, and I say I can't remember them when I know that there are only 3 chords, and if I knew what those chords were, I could probably remember it, but I remember this and that, and if I lose that, it's gone. So I do get in trouble when it comes to remembering a lot of my songs, which is that's an important part of being a performer, is remembering your songs.
It is, because you don't have to play it exactly the same thing, but you should kind of keep with some keys.
Get it close.
And I hate to say keep it in key, but not to refer back to some other stuff, but as a professional, athlete and everything, do you feel that also assisted you or helped you in what you're doing now? Made you better? Or
yeah, I definitely think it's helped. And in the main way that it's helped, I think, is reaching the professional level at something, no matter what it is. Kind of, A, it gives you confidence to step out and do things, but B, you know what it takes to get there. So I know that success didn't happen overnight when I played lacrosse. I played every day, and I dreamt about it. I woke up thinking about it over breakfast. I was daydreaming and sitting in math class about playing lacrosse. And I know that that's what it takes to be good at something. So I'm taking what I learned in that arena and kind of applying it to music. I know that success isn't going to happen overnight. And I also know what it takes to be good at something. So I'm just kind of fully committed to it. And now I wake up thinking about playing music. And I don't go to math class, which is great. So I get to think about music all day long. But there's that, and there's also like the interesting difference between music and sports is sports, there's rules. So my job on a lacrosse field was to put the white ball in the back of the net as many times as I could in a game. And if I did that 5 or 6 times a game, I knew that I was playing good and I was doing my job. But when it comes to music, after a performance, you don't really know if you connected, because so much of music is taste and mood and vibe. There's no way to measure your connection. So that's why I'm still chasing it. There's something cool about never knowing if you're moving in the right direction or not. And that makes your art better, I think, if you live in this like constant limbo. At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Sure. Well, you know it's never completed, and you have something to work for tomorrow. And not to diminish once like once the game is over, the game is over. But here, your game doesn't really end.
Yeah, it's like being a mailman.
A mailman.
You deliver the mail, and you wake up the next day and you deliver more mail.
And you don't know who opened it.
That's right.
I mean, I can say as a fan interviewing you today and hearing you play, I think you succeed, but I'm not going to tell you that because I want you to keep going. So I didn't say that out loud.
I appreciate it.
I mentioned earlier to you was we had the opportunity, and I wish I had seen you a lot sooner than this, but we saw you at the Sabrosa sessions a couple years ago. Quite interesting. But one of the things I really got out of it, the storytelling, the background you put to some of the songs. You didn't talk long, but you put just enough so that you're like, yeah, I really want to hear that song. And I really heard a lot of heart and soul in what you were playing, and I really appreciated it. Does that really come from the family, the big family you had, and your whole background? I mean, is like just your dad and your uncle playing and stuff? I mean, do you still pull a lot from all that?
I think I do. A lot of it stems back to just in my comfort level with being me and knowing that I'm not like a guitar shredder or I don't have an amazing voice. It's like
that's arguable.
Appreciate it, but that's kind of like was part of it for me, because when I first started playing, I wanted to rip guitar and I wanted to sing like Otis Redding, and you soon realize that maybe that voice isn't in you, so you have to just accept your own sound. And that's a big step as an artist, I think, is just accepting that that's what you are. You can get better in certain areas, but you're always going to have that fundamental thing in you. And a lot of artists spend a lot of time trying to get away from that. And I've kind of just accepted it. I'm like, this is who I am, this is what I sound like. So I'm just going to put it all out there. And I write songs for me. I know that sounds selfish, but I write them for me. I play them for other people.
Sure.
But when I write songs, it's always for me. So when I'm presenting them, I feel the lyrics very deeply. And I think I hope that's what comes through to people. So when you talk about heart and soul and singing with that passion, I think it comes from the writing process, because I really believe in what I'm saying and I really stand behind the message. So I think that's where where it all comes from.
It's interesting, and not to compare, but you almost put out the same kind of thing that John Lennon said a couple years before he passed on, was that he writes songs for himself, and hopefully everybody else will get their thing out of it, and that's very interesting. So it kind of brings me to like your new CD, the Full Nelson, that you have coming out. And that's not a wrestling thing either. This is
I gotta tell you, the name in itself. So it's a 2-disc live CD that we recorded at the Nelson Odeon, which is one of my favorite rooms in the entire world, run by my favorite people. So we went in there and I called it the Full Nelson, and it's been out for like 3 days now, I guess. And it is so fun to message people or call them and ask them if they want a full Nelson, because you get the most hilarious responses. So I'm so glad that that's the name I landed on for it, the Full Nelson.
It's perfect. I love it. You know, I saw it and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to go talk to him today. I might end up in a neck hold or something. But what brought you to really kind of come up with this, and you know, what's the process of creating the Full Nelson and not the wrestling team?
So I been playing music for a long time, and I have a lot of songs, and I kind of just wanted to put them. I've never done let me just say this. I've never done a live recording. All of the recording I do in the studio, yes, I play it live. I don't do stuff to a click, but I've never captured my live performances. So this was kind of an experiment to bottle up a moment in time. And my musical partner and my good buddy John, we talked about this for a long time, trying to figure out the right place to do it. And there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to recording a live disc. So we decided to do the Nelson Odeon just because of we knew there'd be a good crowd. We knew that the crowd there is very respectful of music and would be into being a part of a live recording. So we made it, that was part of the marketing for the events. It was 2 nights. We played 2 nights and 2 different shows, and just took the best takes from each night that we felt connected. But for me, it was like bottling up some of those old songs that I've played for a long time, so now I can move forward. And so now they live on the Full Nelson, and now I can move forward with doing what I'm doing here today.
Perfect.
The new record.
So let's talk about that. What can you talk about what you're doing now, and when can we expect to, steal it? I mean, buy it?
I know, seriously. So I have 2 things going right now. So I play in a 5-piece rock band called the Black River, and we're working on our 2nd album. We recorded our first album, Classic Universe, in Utica at a place called Big Blue. My good friends, the Adermans, run that place. Beautiful old building, and we recorded the new album here, and we're in the middle of putting it together. So that'll be happening soon, and also I just can't stop creating. I get all kind of like antsy if I'm not writing songs, and they're starting to fall out of me again. So I'm trying to shorten up the time between writing a song and recording it. So I'm doing this new record, which I'm working on here today, where there's songs that I'm either writing that day or within the week, and shortening that time between finishing writing it and putting it on something. Because I've found that sometimes when you write a song, there's something special about it in your head. You think there's something cool about it, and the longer that goes on, you start to lose what was cool about it. So I'm trying to figure out a way to figure out what was cool about it, record it, and then I'll always remember what I liked about it. So that's what I'm working on right now. So just staying busy.
Excellent. So we have that to look forward to. Obviously, you probably got a couple of good gigs coming up. Where's a couple of next ones coming up, just so people can check our calendar out and find them.
Sure, we're in. That's the fun thing about having a band and a solo project. So I kind of get to play both sides of the spectrum in terms of rooms. So like I'm with the band in Saranac this weekend, and at the place called the Water Hole, and the next week I play at Borodino Hall, which is a listening room, historic Grange Hall in CNY Alive. Then I'm into Ithaca at a place called Casita del Polaris. So I'm just kind of like starting to spiral out a little bit. And, I think a lot of people talk about, they'll say, hey, just keep it up, man, you'll catch a break and you'll be successful. Well, when they say that, I know it's very nice that they're saying that, and I appreciate it very much. But at the same time, I'm not really trying to make it. I'm happy where I am, just playing music for friends and family, and living a life where I can wake up and think about creating something new. And I'm in a really good spot that way, so I kind of feel like I have made it by my own standards,
right.
Just because I'm happy artistically, feel very fulfilled, and I have a 3-year-old daughter that gets to see her dad a lot, and sees him playing guitar and music just like I watch my dad play. So the cycle is continuing, and it feels good.
And you play with the Jenny 2 or Jenny beer can?
I brew my own beer.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I one upped my father.
Excellent. Mike, I appreciate you taking the time with us today. You got a lot going on. Keep in touch with us. I absolutely love your music, just like I said from the first time I saw you guys at Sabrosa, and telling us to boo you at one of your songs to now you're not getting this out of my hands.
Well, I appreciate it, and I want you to know that as a local artist and someone that puts their heart and soul into playing music, having people like you is very important to what we're doing, and we appreciate you taking the time to give us a voice. It's very cool.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
We'll keep
Very
working
much.
together.
All right,
Appreciate it.
sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.